Okay, well, I guess it's 10:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. First, thank you for sticking around to the very end and choosing this session. There are lots of really interesting sessions going on right now, some that I would have liked to have attended if I weren't actually presenting. So I appreciate that. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Jennifer Perlman. I currently work at the Oklahoma City University Law Library. I'm the Reference and Student Services Librarian, and I've been there since May. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about, I guess all about, a project that I did this spring that has been really successful on our campus, and it wasn't something that was that difficult to do, and it's really improved our relationship with our other kind of law school departments. So I'm going to talk about that. We did use a Libguide for this project, so I will show you our Libguide. I think projects like this, it's kind of cross-campus or cross-law school department or department project that we did, you could use a number of formats. So it's not really an advertisement for Libguides. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can about Libguides, and I'll show you our Libguide that we developed. But I think you could use WordPress for a very similar project, or Drupal, or any of those other programs. So to give you a little background on how I kind of got my position and how this started, when I was hired, I was given the title of Reference and Student Services Librarian. And on kind of my first day, I was sitting in my director's office, and he was kind of going over all of my tasks for the year. And at the end, he goes, "So do you have any new ideas?" I just started being a librarian. Like, that was my first day of ever being a librarian. So I kind of stared back, and I was like, I'll get back to you on that. And I was sure in that instance that I was going to be fired, but that didn't happen. He's really, if anybody knows my director, Lee Peoples, he's one of the nicest, most unthreatening people that you can meet. So there was really no need for me to be terrified, but I was. So I went back to my office, and I started brainstorming different ideas to kind of get the student services rolling in our library, because it's not something that we hadn't really had a title like that before. So one of the ideas that I came up with is, why don't we try supporting some of the other departments in our law school that also support students, such as our Career Services Department, our Department of Academic Achievement, our Student Services Department. Like, what are some things that we can do? So I scheduled, in the next couple of months, I scheduled meetings with those different law school departments. And in one of them, with one of our assistant deans, who is the director of our Center for Professional and Career Development, one of the things that she said is, like, I'd really like to do more interdepartmental projects to kind of build a sense of community here at the law school. And that stuck with me. So throughout that fall semester, we did a few kind of cross-promotional things, but we're still trying to figure out what exactly is it that we want to do. And so this project kind of came out of that. So to give you a little background, have any of you been to OCU's law school? So you're kind of familiar, some of you are familiar with the setup, or you know the people there. The Sarkey's Law Center is where all of our law classes are. Most of our administrative offices are here, and there are a few faculty offices. And then about halfway across campus, and it's a small campus, so it's not a real long walk, but it is a walk, is our law library. And it is actually in a building that was originally intended to be this University School of Religion, so it's not really set up to be a library. So we have all of our library materials here, most of our faculty offices, and then our faculty support services. We have about 600 students and I think about 35 professors. Well, what this creates for us in the library is, and really the first year that I worked there, I never see my colleagues in the other building. So we don't get to know each other. We don't have any of those informal interactions at the coffee machine or passing through the hall. So we don't really get to know each other real well, and it takes a while. So that was one of the things that I really wanted to work on doing, was kind of building the sense of the law library and the other campus departments, or law school departments, being more integrated and working together. So in March, the Student Bar Association held this event. Are any of you familiar with the short documentary, A Terrible Melancholy? It's about a 25-minute documentary about depression in the legal community. And it's a great documentary. I think you can actually get the DVDs for free. We have the DVD in our collection, but you can also get the video online, and we have that up on our Libguide. And March is actually the American Bar Association Students Division Mental Health Awareness Month, and March 27th is Mental Health Awareness Day. And so I was working, and this was kind of late February, and I got a call from Dean Roseman, who's the director of our Career Development Center. And she said, we're having this program, we're going to show this documentary to our students, we're going to have a bunch of panelists come in. Is there anything the library can do to kind of support us on this? So we started talking, and there's kind of the usual thing. I said, well, we can put out a display, we can put out some of the materials that are related to depression in the legal community. And then as we got to talking, I said, well, you know what we could do also is we could create a Libguide for these resources. Maybe not, it's not quite a traditional Libguide, and I had to explain to her what a Libguide is. Are most of you familiar with Libguides? Probably, and we'll see what ours looks like. And when it's kind of funny when you're trying to explain it to somebody who's not familiar with library terms and with that term at all. So it took a while to kind of explain to her what exactly we could do. And she's like, okay, this is great. Let's call some of the other departments. So that's what I did. So in this event where we ended up showing this movie, these are all of our different participants. So there are a number of campus groups involved in this. Our university counseling services, one of the things I found out when I contacted them is that most of their kind of student clients do come from the law school. So this was an issue that really needed to be addressed. You know, and we've all been there, we understand that. Then our Center for Career Development, academic achievement, I don't know if all law schools, I don't think every law school has this kind of department, but what our Center for Academic Achievement does is they do a lot to actually support first-year students and kind of get them through those first-year classes. And then they offer bar prep courses. They also have a lending library of study aids. And we had not really worked with this department much at all. And so this was a great opportunity to start working with them. Other department was our Law School Student Services, and they kind of cover everything else from financial aid to student behavioral problems. Anything that you can kind of think of gets taken care of by Law Student Services. Campus Technology was involved. We got them to set up the AV equipment. They helped me with some of the linking and some of the embedding of videos in our Libguide. And we actually also, our Student Bar Association really organized most of this event. And then we had participants from the local and state bar associations as well. So not only does this become an OCU kind of cross-department project and program, we also got our local bar associations involved. And I'll try to slow down because I don't think this will take the whole hour if I keep talking this fast. I'm nervous. It's my first presentation, so.
It's the last day. You have to talk for a whole hour.
Okay, good. I'm glad you guys are understanding. I didn't think anyone would mind if we wrapped up a little early. But so what was the process involved? So the process was they contacted me, Career Services, can you help us? We came up with this idea. And I started brainstorming ideas. And then I contacted all of the other departments we thought would be interested and got their input. Because I really didn't know much about what kinds of services we offered on campus to help students who were struggling with depression and some of those related issues. I also didn't really know the resources that well for this particular kind of topic. We don't teach it as a typical ALR section. So I worked on that, and we built the Libguide. And then what I did, before we actually published it, is I sent out a preview link. So those of you who've used Libguides before, I don't know if you've ever used this feature, but if you want other people to view it before you make it live, you can send out a preview link. And this was great. I wasn't sure what kind of response we would get, and it was overwhelmingly positive, and with suggestions for additional resources. And then another kind of caveat to this is I told everyone, and since people have followed up on this, you know, this isn't a stagnant document. We can change this, we can update it as things come out, as new services are available, and that's one of the great things about the Libguide format. And so, since we published this, we've actually added things as these departments have continued to contact me and say, we have this new resource, or here's this new article, can you please make it available? So it's been a great way for me and for the library to really communicate with these other departments that we usually don't have a lot of interaction with. So this is our actual Libguide that we developed. And I know it's a little difficult to see, but you can go to our library's main page and open it up from there. But the first page is an introduction. And this is where we were able to actually upload the original documentary. So if this is a resource you're thinking, this would be good for my library, it's on Vimeo. and you can actually get it there. You can watch it from our library. And then I put information about the actual event and kind of what was in the Libguide, some very basic links, and then information about our event. And we actually recorded our panel discussion, and so that's made available there too. And what's great about this, that one of the other things that we're going to be working on, and I'll talk about in a few minutes when we get to some of the outcomes, is that our departments do a lot of different things. They're always hosting panel discussions. Most of them are videotaped, but then sometimes those videotapes kind of get lost in the ether. And so through the Libguides and some of the future Libguides we're going to do is we're actually going to have a great way to host those videos for our other law school departments. And so it's a great way for the library to really support them so they can support students even more. And then, of course, being good lawyers, we had to include a disclaimer. This is not, we're not mental health experts. Seek professional help if you need it. The next page that I built was just simply about the documentary itself, about the producer, where the DVD was in our collection, and then I don't know if any of you are familiar with this website, but the producer, Daniel Laskasic, actually created this entire website that has articles available in blogs and podcasts. And it's a really great resource for students and lawyers. The next tab that we developed was our books tab. And we have some of your basic Libguide things, how to use the catalog, how to use the OCU libraries, links to other relevant databases. And this was kind of interesting. It took us a while to build this page. I had an RA that was helping me with this. Because at first, what I'd done is I'd broken it up into all of these teeny tiny topics: anxiety, stress management, work-life balance. And what I found is that all of these books covered so many of those topics, it was very difficult to pigeonhole them into one very narrow topic. And we included things also related to just basic law school survival tips. Because the idea is that if a student is feeling overwhelmed, they go to our student services director and say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, what do I do? She can point them to this resource and say, okay, these are some great resources that you can look at, that you can actually check out from the library or purchase on your own. And then our next page, and this is where we start bringing in the other departments, was actually links to the other OCU Law Student Services departments. So there's kind of a nice clearinghouse there, and I think this will be really valuable to especially incoming students who aren't familiar yet with how the law school is set up and if they're struggling with some of these issues. So we have information about our counseling services, information about student services, some screening tests that the University Counseling Services provides, information about our Professional Career Development Center and resources they have, and then information about our academic achievement. And we even included some other things like our fitness center, like if you need some stress relief. So it's a great way to put all of those resources in one spot for our law students, so they don't have to click on every website to see what's available. And then we were also thinking about our alumni and our community lawyers, so we put some links up to our Oklahoma Bar Association resources that are available. And this has been a great tool as well. We have had some interest from kind of Lawyers Helping Lawyers, our division of that of the Oklahoma Bar Association, and in this resource. So this is a way for us to kind of expand not only to other law school departments, but the community as a whole. And then we listed some local community resources, again, that students might want to contact. And this was a little tricky because I really didn't want to cross the line into recommending particular services. And so we really stuck with kind of general services, general organizations that could then point students to the appropriate resource or the appropriate clinician. And most of these that we included were kind of low-cost, low-income based, things that were actually accessible to our students, because a lot of our students don't have. It's expensive to go to law school, so you don't have a lot of extra money. So that was something that we spent a lot of time developing and thinking about. And this is also a great resource, for our student services department. When she's trying to remember and direct students out to other organizations, she has this handy list that's already compiled. And then we put links up to other national associations that have some resources available online that might be of interest to students or community members. And then our current awareness page is kind of interesting. This is the one that we update more often. We'll probably be updating every few months, where we link current articles. We have some podcasts that automatically update on this, some blogs that automatically update on this. So students want to see any current information or get ideas for different blogs to follow or podcasts to follow. That information is available there. And then our last section, and this isn't, I'd like to add some more, but our ABA resources, so the ABA divisions that work in this area, and our Student Bar Association. As you can see, these are the events that they were holding, and so we'll update this in the fall and probably next spring when they have new events. And then there's our disclaimer that's on every page. Let's see. So any questions about the guide itself? Or yes?
In looking at your statistics.
Right now, we have, last time I checked the stats, because we just launched this in March, we'd had 129 views. So not a huge number, and those weren't all me, and I've looked at it a lot, but enough to show that at least it's getting some hits, and we do have some click-throughs. And I don't remember the stats off of, most of the click-throughs have been to the videos to actually watch those, and then some of the books themselves.
And have you gotten any oral feedback from like the other offices or students?
I haven't heard a lot from students, and I think because it's a sensitive issue, I don't think they're going to come in and tell me. But the feedback from the other departments has been overwhelmingly positive. They loved this. They wish they'd had this for a long time. And it was a great way for them to pool all of their different resources together, because all of our departments offer great services. But it's hard sometimes for students to know what those services are and kind of how they fit into the context of the law school. So it's been overwhelmingly positive, and actually, and I'm going to talk about in a minute, we have some new projects that have now come out of this and out of this relationship that we were able to build with these departments. Yes? We just have Libguides right now. I'm not sure.
Campus Guides is the module that lets you set it up so that each department can have their own.
Oh.
For each department to not post, but like.
Right. I'm not.
Gives you lots of different view circles.
I haven't heard of that yet, so I'm going to look into that when I get home.
Sure, it's basically trying to.
Well, I think that's something our departments would love. And actually, I've set it up because another one of our department members from Academic Achievement, actually, I gave her access to part of this so she could add things too. So that's a great idea. Yes?
When you started building this, did you look at if there were any other comparable Libguides out there?
I did, and I found for this particular topic there really weren't. And I don't, there were some links on different law school pages to kind of resources available, and then in the Lawyers with Depression website there were some things, but I didn't find any other comparable Libguides. It doesn't mean they're not out there. And especially when we were doing this, it was right as this month was starting, and I haven't looked since to see if others have been developed.
Does your university library use Libguide?
Yes, we do. Oh, no. Our main campus library, as far as I know, is not currently using Libguides. It's just the law school. So. And I don't know if it's something they're looking into or not, but this is just something that we have right now in the law school. Yes? No. With the video, the producer actually, this is available for free, and you could embed it, and that permission was already there in kind of the Creative Commons license. And then for listing the books, we don't include any of the actual content. We just put up the cover art for students to link to it. So we haven't had really any issues with copyright for this particular guide, and I'm not sure with any of our others if we've ever had any copyright issues. Yes? It does help with the visual image, and what I found, and actually we can go back to the guide. It's still up with the books. And not all of our books we were able to get. Sorry, this is tiny.
We can't get any of our bar books because they don't get.
Right, so you can't actually put those up. And what we do for those is sometimes we'll put in a filler. Now, it looks kind of silly, though, when you have all filler books, but that's what we do there. But yeah, it's great when you can actually get the cover art either from Amazon or I can't remember, or Syndicate, which is the other resource that you can use. But it gives it a little more visual interest as well. Other questions about the guide itself? Or? Yeah, let's talk about that. Some of the other projects now that we're doing is over the summer I'm working with each one of the 3 major departments, academic achievement, the career development services, and student services, and we are developing for them specific LibGuides for the resources that they have and that they suggest to students. So this will be, we're going to link it through on the library page and also on their home page. So for example, for our Career Development Center, what I've done is I have a main page where I've listed some of their kind of hours and general information, and then by different topics that they want covered, like interviewing, networking, judicial clerkships, I've created individual pages where I'll link in our resources we have available in our library on those topics. They have their own library, so I'm also including that information from their own library. And then they're constantly sending out emails to students with different links to articles or podcasts or activities or scholarships, and so including those as well. We're doing something similar for the Student Services Department over the summer, and these are big projects. I mean, LibGuides, those of you who've worked on them, can be pretty time-consuming, and so I'm hoping, our goal is to launch all 3 of these by August 1st, and I'm not sure if that will actually happen, but so we're doing that for our student services, and then for academic achievement, they have their own lending library that they haven't really organized yet, and so we're going to be working with them and helping them organize that and then create a specialized LibGuide for them as well, so students can not only see what they have in their library, but I'm hoping to set it up so that they can see if the book is actually available. And that's a little more time intensive. It's not something that we can actually do in our own LibGuides because there isn't a way that I know of yet to link directly to the catalog and show that it's checked out. So it's a manual thing. But I think our Assistant Director of Academic Achievement, when books are checked out, she'll just go in and manually make a note. And I don't know how well that'll work out. That might end up being too time intensive, but we're going to try and see how it works. So those are some of our other projects. So what were some of the challenges that we had with this? The main one, as most of you can guess, is time. It's another project that you have to do. It's yielded a lot of great results. I've gotten to know my colleagues in these other departments. We're doing other projects together. We're communicating. I know their names, which some of you that may not be a problem in your library, but when I'm housed in my little office in the reference wing and they're across campus, it's hard to get to know or meet those individuals. When Dean Roseman called me, it was the end of February. We just started a new certificate program, and for whatever reason, I was teaching all of the February classes. And then we co-teach our advanced legal research, and so I'd co-taught the beginning of February I was teaching a class, and the beginning of March I was teaching a class. And it's my first year being a librarian, so these are all new classes for me. So that in and of itself was stressful. And then I'd also signed up for CALI Reviser, so I had a revision project due March 31st. So I had about 4 weeks to also squeeze this in. And they are kind of labor intensive. Luckily, I have a great RA who helped me with upload a lot of the books. But some of the other resources, most of the other ones I did on my own. So that was probably the number one challenge, was just fitting it into our schedule and finding opportunities to do that. Another challenge was just the things that you run into when you're working with software. LibGuides is not a perfect system. It's a great system, but we had some HTML problems, and I know enough about HTML to know when there's a problem, but I don't always know exactly how to fix it. So we ran into some of those problems, but we were able to sort most of them out. And then anytime you're putting together a resource guide on a topic you're unfamiliar with is, what do I actually include? What is a good resource? And trying to identify those resources that would actually be useful to our students on these particular topics. And so our outcomes, we've already talked about some of these. When I checked before I came to CALI, we'd had 129 views since March 31st. I think for kind of a non-traditional guide, that's not bad. I hope we don't get too many hits because I don't want, a lot of our students to need it. But if they do need it, I want it to be available to them. It came out at the end of the spring semester, and so there wasn't a lot of marketing. There was the event. It was getting close to finals. The event was kind of moderately well attended, but not one of the stronger attended events that usually happen earlier in the year. So what we're actually going to do is re-advertise it in the fall semester when the new students come in with some of our library orientation. And then, as we've already talked about, the main thing that this has really done is just kind of one small project we were able to find a way to support these other departments that support services, have now kind of fostered those relationships. We're looking at new projects that we can do, new partnerships. Of course, new partnerships mean more work, and that's always the challenge. But I've found that it's even just like the little things that we can do together really help. And it's great because they get information about all sorts of resources that in the library and our traditional means of like collection development we don't always find out about. So it's been a great way to share information and to get to know one another. So, like I said, this wasn't a particularly long presentation, and I talk a little too fast. So, do you have any other questions or comments or ideas that I can steal from you to tell my boss? Yes. We have one kind of communications web editor who manages the entire website. The library, we're allowed to kind of edit our own pages, and he's a little more flexible with us. But anytime we want to upload anything to their page, we have to go through, his name's Nathan. So he's kind of in charge of our website. So he does all of the website administration, and that's a big job in and of itself. Other questions or comments or ideas?
That great feature for campus guides that's intended to support lots of different departments doing this. And we usually have the library members pay for it as an extra fee. But the problem we've had is just getting the interest from them. So using a special event like this, you can find something like that. We're setting up a kind of ad hoc committee for all the different departments that are using social media. So I set up a Libguide just for staff to use to communicate information with each other on something where, and the problem with social media is they get one staff member who's good at it, and then they need where's the information fast enough to log in information. Training on actually using it somehow. I've also set up Libguides because with Libguides you can have things that are published publicly.
Right.
You can have things that are published privately. You can have unpublished. You can have past. I've set up Libguides. I do trainings for the staff, and I do them as something that the staff themselves will go and look at after the workshop to find out about something they talked about. Trying to get the staff to be users of Libguides as well. Draw their attention to it.
No, I think that's great, and that has been kind of an interesting challenge. Is okay, what is a LibGuide, and what do you mean by that? And but since we've done this particular event, and they've all shown a lot of interest in creating more that will support their departments. But you're right, getting that in was kind of the trickiest part, because when I met with them in the fall, everyone was really receptive to doing collaborative projects. But it's just okay. So what do we do? And so trying to find, and we've done a few things. We always try to do displays to support events that are happening in the law library. I'd done a few kind of research classes to follow up on career service development presentations. But again, finding kind of that one event. So this worked out really well, and it was a great end. And it's just been a really great relationship builder. And that's probably the key thing, is just building those relationships and over time fostering that sense of kind of community, and not only among the students and the faculty and librarians, but among kind of the library and the other departments, because we are, at least at our school, sometimes very isolated from those other departments. Yes? Oh, gosh. Right.
Have those type resources up, I think wonderful, because they can look at them without having to share.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping it will be a really valuable tool for things like that, because a lot of students don't want to come forward. They don't want to come into my office and say, you know, my husband's struggling with this or I'm struggling with this. So that this kind of gives them a sense of autonomy too. They can go and look at this privately and get some of that information. And then again, when they do come to us or come to other department heads, they have this kind of handy resource that's just already available and hopefully continually updated so the information doesn't become stale. And that's fine. We want it to be, you know, we like to share. We're librarians, so. Yeah, and like I said, I don't want too many hits because I want our students to feel healthy and not overwhelmed. But I'm sure the hits spiked right around finals, and we may see some more right after the bar is done at the end of July.
Well, I was thinking about your list of books, like Surviving in Law School. We have that up on our study aids with that we're doing, but I saw some that we haven't. But I've heard of that John Grisham book.
Yeah, the Tarot book. Yeah, and some of those are really great resources, and some of them I wasn't that familiar with until I started putting this together, because they don't come through on our regular collection development. I just really started earlier this year, and I'm, you know, still learning where the reporters are. I've gotten over that, thankfully, but.
You hardly need to know where the reporters are.
I know, yeah. Well, we are public librarians, so we actually have quite a few people who still use our books and our digest. But not many, but we've had some requests for print shepherds. I don't know if you still get those, but.
We have a professor who sends people out.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can't get him to stop.
Just stop buying.
Any other thoughts or comments, ideas? Well, thank you. I know it was a short session. I hope that's okay. Thank you.
Understand isolation because our Lansing campus the library is separate from the rest of the law school. And when I was there, it was hard. And then when I transferred over to Grand Rapids campus, they really have everything in one building. So I've got that communication.
Yeah.
But I know
you don't meet people and you don't know what they're doing and they don't know what you're doing, so.
it is very difficult. But that's a great idea.
Great, thank you.